was the first time that I really felt someone judge me based on what I was doing. Plumbing is responsible for doubling the lives of Europeans and Americans.
Tony Bertolino, fourth-generation plumber, contractor, apprenticeship instructor and co-owner, Bertolino Plumbing and Heating.
There's only so much you can learn in a textbook.
Apprenticeship as alternative education. Like it's not better than college, it's not worse than college, it's just another path. The hardest to teach is how do you use tools?
What are some of the myths, the mindsets, the things that you need to do in order to get those skills?
You can become an entrepreneur overnight if you want. However, you can't become an
All right, welcome back to the Lost Art of the Skilled Trade. Super excited to have Tony Bertolino, National VP of PHCC.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me here.
Appreciate that. The action here is just unbelievable. Super exciting. The apprentices that are working over there at that competition, do you have a chance to take a look at what's going on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, this is, I teach in Virginia Beach and 3 of those apprentices are my students.
No way.
Yep. So it's the first time we ever swept the regional in our area competition. So yeah, there are 3 of them.
What do you feel, for the people who are listening, what are the qualities of those individuals have that kind of set them apart in that type of work? What is it? Is it mindset? Is it just the way they work? Like, what is it?
Being proud of what you do. Or caring about it. The guys that I have in there, the ones that made it there, they want to do this. It's not a secondary option. They're not doing it just because they need to pay rent. They want to be plumbers. And, the quality they have is that they're going to do the best that they can do whatever they're doing. And that's why they're there.
Are they in competition with themselves, like all 3 of them, with like, I want to win?
I was never in that competition ever because we didn't have it where I grew up. But
yeah.
I bet every person that's in there is in competition with themselves. The first thing they tell you are the things that they did wrong in the state competition that they punished themselves for, and then they still made it here. So they're trying not to do that wrong thing again. So yeah, I'm without a doubt, they're stressing out about the things that they can do wrong and trying to avoid that.
What is the prep work to get here?
So in our state, we have a state competition. So they do the state level competition, and should they come in first or second, they have an opportunity to be in nationals. National allowed us to send our 3rd place person as well. And so that's why I have 3. You want to have that OJT, the on the job training. I mean, you go to your apprenticeship school, you learn theory, but you need to really learn the hands-on and how to do it, because this is a practical test of the skills in the plumbing trade. So you really need that hands-on experience to, succeed here.
Yeah, there's only so much you can learn in a textbook. And I was having this conversation with multiple people of like, someone who's got 25, 30 years and learning from that person versus you just learning in a textbook. It's 2 different things. Like, you have to see it in the field, obviously. And, that experience that they have just might not be maybe even in the textbook.
It is. I do believe that there's you have to identify how people learn, right? I mean, all you have to do is look at NASA and look at the shuttles out there, the Apollo 13 mission, right? None of those people on the ground were in that shuttle out there. They weren't hands-on. It was all theory what they were doing, and they solved a problem in a confined space without being in the actual situation. So, I mean, you can learn from a textbook if you're that person.
Yes.
However, most of us are hands-on learners.
Yes.
And you really need to know and feel and stuff. But, when our textbooks in our school, they're not teaching you how to set toilets or do that kind of stuff. It is the theory of plumbing, the physics behind it, why we do it, the importance of it, and that kind of stuff, which is, in order to be well-rounded, you should, in my opinion, know that.
Well, how did you fall into plumbing? What was your back, like family members? Like where did it come from?
I'm a 4th-generation plumber.
4th generation.
Yep.
Okay.
So my dad owned a plumbing company. So it was, 16 and it was summertime and I'm going to work with my dad, which I had a lucky. You work with your dad. He was taking me to lunch. I mean, I was living a good.
Did you have a choice in the matter, or he's like, you're coming with me?
My parents gave me a choice, but it was, you're going to go get a job. Like, you're going to do work. You're going to be doing these things. I mean, it's an important thing to do because you're going to become an adult. Like, you have to work. We're not independently wealthy where you're just going to sit around and do nothing. So working was not a choice. where was, but I chose to work with my dad, and that was great. And maybe I wasn't the best employee because I was with my dad, and you can push buttons, but I mean, there's working with family that is also tough. My dad call me anytime he wants, where your regular boss cannot call you anytime they want.
Yes, off hours too. Yes.
But it was good. I learned everything. The person that I am today is because of him and because of them and the way that they raised me.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. You don't know that when you're going through it, but you look back on those years, you're like, my father was right.
Oh yeah. It's hindsight's 2020, right?
Oh, 100%. 100%. So are you still in the business today?
I am in the business. I am not in his business. So I'm from Virginia, but I grew up in Vermont, and he's still in Vermont. And my brother and we moved back to Virginia because very cold. Young people were leaving the state. It was just tough. So we went back to Virginia, and so we have our company there.
So you started your own business?
Yeah, my brother did. He's actually he's younger than me. He started it when he was 26.
Okay.
And so he began it. I did a bunch of big scale commercial stuff to become more well-rounded. And then we joined together, and the rest is history.
Yeah. The family dynamic is always interesting. That my father was in industrial distribution, and he sold to iron workers, and he was with my uncle for like 60, like some crazy, like 60 years, right? That family dynamic. I was in a business with my brother, also in industrial distribution. It has its good points and not so good points. I mean, it's blood, but it's also, how to literally push each other's buttons.
Yeah. Yeah. And my brother and we have that actually growing up. I mean, we never really fought. We're always good, but I probably push his buttons more than he pushes mine. But we can have those arguments and stuff. But we recognize that we're brothers. We're always going to be, and our family dynamic is more important than that. So sometimes we get a little frustrated with each other, but we're pretty quick to let it go, and we operate fairly smoothly with that.
So you both stay in your own lanes?
Yeah.
You do?
Yep. Yeah. My brother and we're lucky because we didn't plan it that way, but the way that my brother looks at business and the way that I do, we have very specific, roles within the company that I would prefer not to do what he is doing at all, because I am weak at that. And he does not want to do what I do because that is not. And so we're lucky. It was not engineered. I mean, we did not come up with that. It just happened to be that is who we were.
Right. You find your role, whether you're even like one is like the visionary, the person who knows where the company's going. The other person maybe is more in ops, like the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah. And that's me.
That's
so
you.
yeah, my brother, he comes up with ideas, and I'm the systems guy. I make them work. I make them happen. And then he throws another idea out, and we keep on rolling.
Yes. Yeah. But you need that because you work together well, right? And you mesh together, because if you were both like operators or both visionaries, it might not have worked.
Oh yeah.
So it's a good balance.
We would have more arguments.
Yeah. When you're bringing in new people into your organization, for people who are listening, because there's always people obviously looking for positions and they want to interview and they just don't know how, like, what do you look for quality wise, bringing somebody on in your company?
Yeah, it's funny. Rob and I were actually talking about this. One of the things that we've learned that we started identifying as like a key component to being able to be in the trades is the one thing that I find the hardest to teach is how do you use tools? And some people, whether they're doing plumbing, whatever, I mean, they can put together an office desk in their house. Really, I mean, the way that they hold a screwdriver, the way that they grab a drill, the way that they just know how to use whatever tool they're not awkward. They're not like trying to write with their left hand. And you can see that. So like when you give a helper a hammer or a screwdriver and it looks like they're using their left hand to write a pen, you're like, oh man, like how do you explain that? How do you teach that away? Just some people have the ability.
It's a natural.
Yeah, I do. Natural thing. I think it's like you find that there are people that use their hands really well in operation, and and that is what we use. I mean, we have to use tools. Tools are an extension of ourselves, and they are what make us able to do what we can do. And so if you see a kid that can do that and a willingness to be, to show up on time and to actually be here, I mean, you're at that point, it's like, well, let's talk. Let's get you moving in the right direction.
Yeah, because that's maybe the right fit. But they also need the soft skills.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
but those are trainable.
Yes.
You can take somebody and you can get that trained out of them.
I look at it as you have the will, you can get the skill.
Yeah.
But you don't have the will.
No,
that's
yeah.
that's a whole nother.
Yeah. But
that's a whole nother
it's
issue.
hard to identify that on day one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's
Sure.
like, it's important to give people a chance and not be so upset if they fail. If you're hiring a bunch of apprentices or helpers and for a month and then, several of them drop out. I mean, at least you're trying to get them. I mean, some of them aren't going to make it. I've had a job where I wasn't going to make it and was like, hey, I can't do this. So, I mean, everybody has that stuff. So you give them a chance, but it's just that immediate identifier to really see, and honesty that matters. When they tell you the things that the things that they wouldn't like, they wouldn't like somebody to know, but they're going to tell you. It's kind of like the did you graduate high school question, right? There isn't a company in the world probably that is calling up high schools to check your background to see if you graduated high school. That question is a qualifier to be like, are you going to tell the truth? Because if they answer no, there is no way that you would have ever known that. And it's an honesty answer. And I mean, you'll never know the truth. So why is it there?
Well, companies struggle, and I see this. It doesn't matter if I'm at a welding show or a plumbing show or something electrical. The number one thing that business owners say, I cannot find XYZ to replace somebody who's leaving the industry, right? It's, the shortages that we have. How do you reach the younger generation, like Gen Z, ages 13 to 28? Like, what's the secret sauce? I guess
if I knew, we would have a lot less problems.
Yeah.
We have been toying around with that idea. We go into schools, we talk to people. I think fundamentally the mindset needs to change on guidance counselor. I don't think me personally can walk into a school and they're going to look and be like, wow, that guy Bertolino, he showed up. I guess I should try to do plumbing. I'm probably not changing anybody's mind. Realistically, maybe they understand plumbing a little bit better, or they don't have like they don't think it's just digging ditches or whatever. But
perceptions,
they still have already been raised in a situation where there's a choice being made for them about whether they're going to go to college. The school system that they're in, I'm sure if they're like most kids, they're not in a tech school. In a regular high school, they're being prepped for SAT work. They're being prepped for college futures. That's the problem. That there's not a look at apprenticeship as alternative education. Like it's not better than college. It's not worse than college. It's just another path. And until people start realizing that when there's almost none of us and we're like, hey, it's going to cost this much for us to even show up at your door. And you're like, well, I'm not going to pay. Well, I've got a line. If you want to get in line, this is what it's going to cost. It's the way supply and demand works. And once people start realizing that, maybe they'll start putting kids an emphasis back on. I mean, we really lost it, 80 years ago, 60 years ago?
Yeah. And the focus was, more so on going to college. Pushing to college. Right. What do you say to, the individuals out there that think the trades are less than, right? Or option B? Because I know that's BS, but there's still that old adage that it's, you're I don't know, you're pushing a wheelbarrow on a dusty job site, or plumber's butt, whatever it may be, all the, crap that people say. I don't understand. I mean, today it's a little bit different, right? You have a ton of people who are on social media showcasing exactly what they do day to day. So even if you wanted to be a plumber, there's a lot of people who are influencers showcasing their work. But that old adage is still there.
Yeah, 100%. I'll start with that with a story. When I was in my 20s, I was working under a kid's guy sink, and he brought out his ODU diploma, and he told me had I gone to college, I wouldn't be working under a sink. And at the time, it was the first time that I really felt someone judge me based on what I was doing. It had never crossed my mind to think less of someone for them digging a grave versus being an electrician or a plumber or being a college professor. I just didn't think about it like that. And on the drive away from that job, I was like, wow, like that person doesn't even know me. and they think that I'm less than them because I didn't go do this one thing. Like I've been judged basically. And I decided to make it a point that I would educate or encourage people to learn more about what it is. And what I would say to somebody that says that we are less than, because at this point I've cultivated that answer, is that plumbing is responsible for doubling the lives of Europeans and Americans through sanitary drainage and potable water systems. And if you're excited at the fact that you're 55 and you still have 20 years or 30 years of life left, my trade is not less important than anything you're doing. We gave people more time. We are the foundation of the healthcare system in this country. You don't get sick and die from drinking water in America anymore. So if you don't like what we do, if you think we're less than, we're not going to change your mind, but we know better.
Well, plumbers save more lives than doctors.
Yeah. 2007, I think it was Britain voted that we were that sanitary drainage system is the greatest medical breakthrough of the 21st century because of the doubling lives. And they beat vaccinations and antibiotics.
Yeah.
That was on the list.
Amazing. I like that poster where it's the plumber who, you see him on the pedestal.
Yep.
With all the people. I always like that.
I always think about that where it says like we're the healthcare of the nation. It's such a simplified way of putting just how important we are. And, just what we do. There is only one trade more important than plumbing, and that's building, because we need shelter to survive. After that, we have to have water. We have to get rid of the sewage. It makes us sick, and people just don't remember because we've done such a good job.
Yeah. And people take it for granted. You come
Absolutely.
over and you fix X, Y, Z, and it's just, you don't realize what the men and women in the trades do behind the scenes to keep really us running, keep the economy running.
Oh, absolutely. It's like what? Like we take like a 7-minute shower, and that's more water than most people in third world countries use in a day.
Yeah.
We have no concept of just how great we have it, but it's because of the tradespeople that exist. Because this infrastructure is constantly being worked on. So, I got to a point in my life where it's like, I really don't care if you respect me. I'm not going to change your mind. If you're a person that looks at different professions with different value and weight, no one's changing your mind. You're that person. So, you can exist in your world where you believe certain people are less than you. And that's fine. That's not how I'm going to be. And that's not the ideas that I'm going to promote.
I don't know if it's the people I want to be around anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I want to pivot over to journey from technician to entrepreneur, because there are a lot of people in the field that are like, I just want to start my own business. I'm gung ho. What are some of the myths, and what are the mindsets, the things that you need to do in order to get those skills? Because you can't just show up and just form an LLC and all of a sudden like you're rocking and rolling. Like you need to know a thing or two about business.
Right. So I use this with my students, right? You can become an entrepreneur overnight if you want. However, you can't become a successful entrepreneur, right? You can go down and get that business license. You can apply for the LLC. You can go bankrupt. Your company can never make money, and the IRS take away your tax ID number because you're just a company that doesn't make money. But I think the problem is a lot of these guys do side work. They're always doing a little extra helping people out, and they forget or don't even know how our system works. Some of them get shocked when I tell them, like, the taxes that come out of your checks only half. We pay the other half. What do you mean? Well, when you own a company, you pay all of it. Like, that number, you double it, and you have to make a good amount of money to be able to pay yourself. It's not, if it was all like side work, then everybody would be an entrepreneur. It's just money's coming in, you're not have to pay it out anywhere. We need people though. We need entrepreneurs. We need them to start filling the gap as companies start to disappear through retirement or selling or however it works out. I would say that they need to educate themselves on that part of the business, because I get you don't have to work in the field anymore, or what, it must be a lot easier. And it's like, well, just before I came on this, I'm answering questions, in Virginia from Michigan, because my phone is just ringing constantly about problems that the guys are up against. Yeah, it never stops ringing. Saturday, Sunday, I am still working.
I don't think people realize that yes, they go home, they don't go home with it. You go home with it.
Yeah, and it's when you're by yourself, it's even easier. But then as soon as you have people, I mean, I particularly care about my guys, knowing that if I do something wrong and I make it so that work stops or I screw something up, that it affects their lives. And I'm just not a person that can take that lightly to be, if I fail, there are other members of my community that then don't have a job because of my failure. And it's like, that matters to me a lot. And so, there's times my brother and I where like something will happen and we're up all night dealing with it. And, and he's like, man, I'm not sleeping because we're trying to figure out an issue. And when you're an employee, man, you get to just go home. Like when on the weekends, when I wasn't working, I wasn't working. I wasn't thinking about work. I did not care about anything. I was just having a good time and relaxing. And now it's every day I think about work. Every day I do something with it, and it's just commonplace. What I want, I don't want it any other way, though. I mean, I do like this, but you really need to know that that is something you'll be dealing with. And if you don't want to deal with that, there is no shame in being an employee. I mean, you can make a great living and have everything you want by doing that. But just remember that to be successful, you need to be putting in effort, a lot of effort.
You do. And I just think the entrepreneur route is crazy. I mean, in a good way, because I was an entrepreneur and had a business for 24 years in industrial supply. So like, I know the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs and, the questioning yourself and mindset, but also getting around mentors or people who are business owners, right? Or maybe a mastermind of some sort. What have you done? Obviously you have your brother, but like outside your own brother, like who do you get around to get inspiration, or like when you're troubleshooting something in your own business? Do you have a mentor or mentors?
Yeah, I do. I have a mentor that's in our local area, owns a plumbing company. And I mean, I teach his guys, and I had my first interaction really with him. He's a good sized company, well respected, and I'm a teacher. So at the same time, and our company was very tiny, and I was teaching class, and he came in to introduce himself, and we were talking, and he knew that I had just started up, and he was like, "Hey, listen, if you ever find yourself where you don't have any work, just call me. I'll make sure you have some work. That way you get your bills paid." I never had to take him up on that, but the relief that he gave me was just, that was one of the most important things I could have heard at that time, because I didn't know if the phone stopped ringing, how was I going to pay my bills, and how was I going to get the phones to ring more? And fortunately that never happened, but he gave me a safety net, and I could never repay him for that. And so from that point forward, I've worked really hard with the guys, and I've been a part of this organization. And he, whenever I've had real questions, he has never once treated me like a competitor. My office is right down the street from his, and he's never had an issue with answering anything from me. And I trust him just about more than anybody I could ever trust. And he's always been there. And so knowing that he'll tell me if I'm being stupid, he'll tell me if something is wrong, right, or this, that, and the other thing, or give me a way to look at something. And that's just invaluable. And if you can get at any point in your life, having a mentor for any aspect of your life is incredibly important.
Well, how does somebody ask for help? Because if you're, let's say, just starting out, you have nothing to provide to that person. So you're like, well, I have nothing to give them, but they're giving me all this. Like, how do you go about that, getting the courage to ask for help? It's not always easy.
You're right. Being part of the organization, the PHCC, makes it easier, because at least from where I am in Virginia, it's like these guys have all gone through what you've gone through, probably because they've been doing it for a long time, and they're part of this organization, or at least the older group of guys. And it's like they can look at you and be like, there's something going on with you. I mean, we just know. And so it's like you're gonna ask because they're going to ask you to ask. And it's just their experience they're able to recognize, and that's part of it. But so by being in this community, you're around a bunch of people that make it very easy. PHCC has done a great job of making it a family. And it's really much easier to tell mom and dad, hey, like stuff's not going so great at work. Like, what are you guys going through? And so that community feel, like if you're on the outside and you're not part of it, it definitely way harder. I got to be part of it. And so since you're in there, you get to, hey, what's going on? Like we had at the, part of last year, there was some significant supply or not supply issues, but like, there was weird where people started getting worried about spending money. And we saw these crazy ebbs and flows with the economy and how people were. And so I got to call up someone, hey, are you seeing? Yeah, we're seeing the same thing. Okay. It's not me. Right. It's not just me.
Because you go into panic mode because you're like, wait, we're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
But if other people are feeling that too, then it's not just, it's just the economy.
They would give me calls. Hey, what are you seeing? Oh, this is what I'm seeing. And it's like, we reassure each other. Or then, the way that I thank my mentor is when other people call me with problems, I try to be the best mentor or at least give some unbiased, as good information as I possibly can to them to pass it on and strengthen the community that has been built. I think that's because really, there's probably nothing that I can share with my mentor that I'm like, hey, did you know this? And help push him. He's done a great job. And he's learned from his mentors. And so, it's like you repay it in kindness by making sure you help somebody else out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting when someone says they're self-made, they're not self-made. Somebody, help them in their journey, change their trajectory. And you can always trace it back to just a couple of people that really changed. Maybe it was a teacher, maybe it was, a neighbor. It could have been anybody, but somebody has done, has really helped you sort of guide you in your path. You don't want to just float around like.
Yeah. Being self-made to me is a sad statement. It's really like you're alone. Like you didn't have parents. You didn't talk to anybody about anything. Like, yikes. You know what I mean? Not even your significant other. Yeah, it is a lonely phrase.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you said, you go through the ebbs and flows and you go through some of the tough times and you need reassurance from others who've been there. They can help you kind of push through those tough times.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And especially when you get in your own head.
Yeah.
Right. It was everybody is their own worst enemy. We were just talking about with the apprentices and how they, as soon as you make a mistake, I would argue that everybody should get out of their head a little bit more. And so a mentor is just that. They're going to help you get out of your head because they're going to give you the answers, or not the answers, just make you think about something different. It's the same thing as why you shouldn't self-diagnose, medical conditions online. Like you're the only aspect in there. So you're going to Google everything and you're going to start learning some stuff that's crazy. You need to talk to somebody else because they are looking at it differently than you.
Yeah. The apprentices that are in there, that mindset, if they mess something, they know that they mess something up. Have you guys worked on like keep moving forward?
Oh yeah. Yeah. In my class, my year 4 class, I prep them to take their licensing test. I'm by no means, I'm only part of the puzzle, right? The OJT, the learning how to do the job is significant. I'm just trying to make sure that they're ready for testing and they're ready for the theory part. My last test is very difficult and it is meant for them to fail. And I designed it that way. They still cry about it. They still bring it up, even though I tell them for years it's supposed to. Oh, well, why, Bertolino? You're setting us up. And I'm not setting up. Failure is how we learn. It is the best teacher you can ever have if you can get out of your own way and understand the lesson. You go to the gym, you work out, you go to failure to develop strength and growth. You want to fail at something. You don't want to fail all the time. You know what I mean? But if you can fail, or if you do fail at something, note it and fix it or do better. You got to. And if you don't fail at anything, there's no reason for you to be. You're the best. You're the best ever. So don't worry about it.
Yeah. Look, sometimes you'll learn the most from your failures.
I would argue that they are if you can wrap your head around that it's okay, they are the single best thing that you will ever learn from, because you took the opportunity to take a shot and you didn't make it. So what can you do to do it again? Now, if you take that failure and you say, well, I'm never going to do this again because it felt bad, but you didn't learn the lesson. You know what I mean? That's on you. Like you didn't learn the lesson. The lesson was, hey, you fix this and you succeed. Now go do it.
Yeah. Sometimes you need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And putting yourself in those situations.
Absolutely.
Tony, this has been a blast conversation. Where do people find your company or social media website?
It's our company is just bertolinoinc.com. We don't really have social media. I am terrible at that. I got a Facebook because we got the company. So I'm not really a social media person. So we don't have, my brother does something on Instagram. I think it's Bertolino Inc. is what it is. I think.
Okay. I'll put it in the show notes for people that want to find out more. Tony, it's really inspiring what you're doing, and it's great that, there's 3 apprentices there who are going through that, and I hope they do well and keep making an impact and
thank you.
Doing good out there. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.